Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. How bad can DEI get? Wanting to make sure that the ladies and everybody that happens to have a head on top of their shoulders is all equal and we're all wonderful and perfectly valid and the same across the board for every job. Well, it gets so bad that it almost ends up taking out a president. I'm going to talk about this today. It could have gone on my news channel, but let's be honest about this. It's not just that this is kind of a news thing. It's also very much detrimental to men, and it holds us out of workplaces. It keeps us from doing jobs we're very capable, in fact, more capable than doing. But because we all must now be good little robots that are exactly the same, and the males can become females and vice versa and all the rest of it, we actually see in real time how bad things can actually get. Because this is a lot different than just getting a job and getting a paycheck and finding work. This actually has to do with how the world physically actually operates. And surprisingly enough, you won't believe this. Strap in. You're not going to believe what I have to say. A woman will not take accountability. Shocking, I know. Shocking. Well, here we have a picture of two Jeeps. We're going rock crawling today. Which Jeep would you rather have? The full trail package Rubicon with the, 36-inch tires and the winch and the great suspension on it? Or the pretty blue one with stock tires, not even stock tires, probably larger than stock tires. Nice little looking rims, and it's a pretty blue. Well, if you say the one that's already on top of really big rocks and that looks like it could handle the job, you're a misogynist, because both are Jeeps, both have tires, both have engines, both are made by the same company. They're exactly the same. And if you see a difference, you're wrong. That's pretty much what the DEI thing is. Well, this is a photo. I'm going to share some photos. I've got some actual video. We're going to talk about how the chief, the head of the security detail, or Secret Service, I should say, how the chief, the head chief, the top lady dog, not only has come up with horrible excuses of why she failed, but also, shocking, she's not going to resign because she doesn't feel she really needs to, because everything's fine, even though we almost had the first ending of a president in, well, a very long time. I don't know how many years, a very, very long time, since JFK. So as you see in this photo, you've got 3 or 4 agents, and granted, the one here in the background is female, but you've got 2 or 3 male agents literally hugging on Trump as he's on the ground. And this woman is cowering in the back behind everybody. And if you were to ask most people, I'll zoom it in here a little bit for you. If you were to ask most people, does she look like she's protecting anyone, or does she look like she's protecting herself? If the answer is she looks an awful lot like she's hiding behind people to protect herself, you would be correct. And that is part of the problem with not seeing the difference between things. The memes are going rampant on Twitter. This is from Emergent Perspective. Who should be protecting Trump? I know what to do versus what do we do? And this is Secret Service before DEI and after DEI. The gal on the right-hand side for you, she was so frazzled she couldn't end up putting her sidearm away, and she kept missing it. And then she's like, well, I guess I'll hold on to it. And in the video, I don't have all the videos because it would be way too much information and videos and the rest of it. I do want to kind of keep this on the shorter time. The men hustled Trump into his vehicle and they went racing off. And the women stood around looking around like, what do we do? And as a matter of fact, in the video, someone cranked up the audio. You can hear one of the women say, what are we doing? That's really not what you want in a security detail. Somebody asking, what do we do? What are we doing here? Now, if you ask me, hey, if you're going to have the most elite protective unit in the world protecting the quote-unquote leader or soon-to-be leader or whatever of the free world, how many chin-ups would you like him to be able to do? I think a fair answer would be like 15 to 20. When I was in high school and when I was, still working out and training for ultra marathons and stuff, I could pretty regularly, pop out 20 pull-ups. If you said push-ups, I'd be like, what? At least 50 straight out, 50 in a row. Let's look at the current chin-up standards for men. If you can do 2, you're good. If you can do 5, you're excellent. For 50 plus. Guys, I can right now, I know, even though I haven't done a chin-up in a very long time, I can do 2 chin-ups. Now, I might struggle because it's been a long time since I did a chin-up. I know I can still do 2 chin-ups. That's the 50 plus range, and I would be considered good. For the ages of 20 to 29 to be considered good, 7 or 8, and excellent is 11. Those are pretty low standards. Those are for men. For 4, you're excellent if you can do 4, or for females. I don't know if I said for 4. For females, the normal, you're excellent if you can do 4. There were girls in my CrossFit gym when I used to go to CrossFit. There were girls that were knocking out 10 to 15 pull-ups. But this is the standard for the best of the best. It is now that DEI got involved. What about push-ups? Excellent for men. And this is in 1 minute, so that means you can take a break. Excellent, 55 for ages 20 to 29. For 50, 39. And a good would be 21 to 28. Guys, I have not worked out in a very long time, much to my chagrin. I know I can knock out 20 to 25. And I'm not training. I'm not supposed to be the best of the best. I am a slightly overweight YouTuber. But for the women, excellent, 20 in a minute, 23 in a minute, excellent, good, 12. So what's happening is by lowering the standards, and we go back to the Jeep photo here, right? By lowering the standards so low, you're saying, okay, the best of the best is this Jeep in the upper right-hand corner, but we want this Jeep to feel okay too. And so we're not going to have the really big rocks and the real big challenges. We're not going to push it to its limit because this one wouldn't be able to keep up. So instead, we're going to drive around a parking lot and hit some really big potholes and maybe some waters in those potholes. It'll look good, like we'll run it in slow motion. It'll look good, but it's not nearly the same functionality. And this is the problem that we get into with this stuff. I want you to hear from people that are actually military trained guys that were trained on protecting the detail. One of the guys was a sniper in the military. Dan Banino was an actual Secret Service agent for, I think, 12 years. I want you to hear them explain how catastrophic the failure is and what they blame it on.
When you set up an advanced team, I keep hearing this about the perimeter elements.
Yeah.
The perimeter is actually established by your that are in the area. So if I don't have any outside of 100 yards, okay, fine, I can cordon off a certain area. But if I have a building 160 yards perfectly adjacent to the stage, that's an obvious threat, especially with an elevated position that has overwatch. Mm-hmm. That's a sniper's paradise. And, we talk about Eagle's Nest. You also have, which no one talks about, but the water tower.
So what I'm hearing from you is it's not a failure on the ground for sure, but 100%. Also a failure in advance?
I think it's a failure in advance. I think it's a failure to have the counter snipers to be able to establish their range fit and their sketch maps. In having done this for so long, they always say the adage of ignorance is bliss, and I think that's true. I've done thousands of advances. I've done thousands of counter sniper operations with our teams in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. The amount of negligence, the amount of mistakes that was made here, I have a very difficult time not leaning myself towards this was intentional as opposed to fecklessness. My point.
I'm going to pause it there because I trimmed this down quite a bit. It was about a 6-minute interview. I've got it to 1:45. He said, this is so bad that it's almost difficult to believe this wasn't done on purpose, that this event wasn't allowed to occur. That's how bad this was, that this is such a simple, easy thing to go through the procedures to make sure that you have a secure perimeter and a secure area. And this is such a basic thing that was overlooked. How do you not think that it was actually on purpose? That's how bad Secret Service screwed up on this. And we're going to get to the director, the female, the woman. We're going to get to her and her problems in just a moment, because it just gets worse from here. But I'm giving you the setup as to how critically bad this woman, the agency, and everything went. So bad that people think there's no way this could have accidentally happened. It had to be on purpose. That's how bad she screwed up.
Point is that when something's so significant, you're talking about something that hasn't happened in decades, right?
I totally.
But my point is this: from a perspective of someone who's actually conducted these are not difficult advances. This is not like I'm putting together a stage placement in a tight shot. This is about looking at your surroundings. What is my green, yellow, and red route, which is your routes out in case? What is my actual elements that I need to be looking at as far as mitigating or risks or increased levels? Where's my range fan for the sniper that says, okay, here's my 100, my 200, my sketch. Here's an area where someone could hear some. Because here's my thing.
So you're
Let's
saying,
just say it's a voice element.
You are saying this is so basic that how big the screw up was, that's what's leading your brain down this road?
That's exactly right.
So that's his point. This is such a basic security precaution that screwing it up this badly leads people to believe it was done on purpose, that it was overlooked on purpose. Dan Bongino, he's on Rumble. He has a TV show. He was removed from Fox News because, he's very conservative and he has thoughts that mainstream news doesn't agree with. That's also why he was removed from YouTube. But I would suggest following him on Rumble if you're on there. Here, he did the same thing. He was 12 years with the Secret Service. I'm going to let him, in his own words, explain how catastrophically bad this is, and then we're going to examine the DEI portion of this.
The guys there, stepped up there, but the failure here is absolutely catastrophic. There have been repeated requests to increase the security footprint around not just the residences of Donald Trump, but the body itself. And they have been rebuffed. Like I said, I can tell you actual quotes. The Secret Service directors completely failed and candidly should resign today. Kim Cheatel has failed Donald Trump and honestly failed Joe Biden too. He's the president right now. Where's the DHS secretary? I mean, this is, you're blaming it on manpower? So just to be clear, we're a $4 trillion United States government and we can't fork over enough money to keep our people alive? And then you're sending out tweets like, oh, this is the best technology we have. Really?
Dan, I mean, you bring up so many amazing points, and I just don't even know where to begin except to ask you, why would the Secret Service not beef up more security for the man who is most likely to be in the entire world? Why would they not deploy more resources? Why weren't there drones over? Is it that this woman, Kimberly Cheatel, the director, is incompetent? Could there be something else there? What is happening? Is it DEI? What's going on?
This is what the Secret Service was concerned about. They put out, 1,000 tweets about all of this DEI stuff. Do I know that's related here? I don't. I'm just saying, you have one job and only one job. Your job is keep the body alive, no matter what. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, the president of Djibouti, it doesn't matter. That is your job. They absolutely, resolutely, 100% failed. Not a single excuse should be made. Not a single excuse should be attempted. This should be the subject of congressional hearings and investigations, because if they can't do this, and this is the best technology you had, then folks, there's no purpose anymore. This isn't the agency I grew up in. It's not. I spent 12 years of my life there, and I'm telling you, I know some of those guys personally. These are good men and women. But this was an apocalyptic security failure. And don't ever forget, an uneventful failure is never a success. And the fact that Donald Trump didn't yesterday is no reason for anybody to take some kind of victory lap. And before we start sending out plaudits, we better look and do a hot wash on this and find out exactly how abysmal this security plan was.
So that's Dan Bongino. The first one, I forget the gentleman's name. He's Republican. This was at the RNC, the Republican National Convention. And this gentleman is a Republican. I think it's in here somewhere. Rep. Corey Mills. And he serves on the Armed Services Committee in Congress. That's the first gentleman you heard speaking. These are guys that have done the ground and pound. They've been in the dirt. They've done the position. This is their expertise. And when they're telling you this is so simple and so basic that to screw this up leads one to believe that this incident was allowed to happen, that tells you how bad it is. Well, already the Secret Service and the administration is coming out making excuses because, again, accountability and women go together like oil and something that is even less separate and different than water. That's where we are. This is from One American News. The Secret Service blames local police for the attempt. Cops were tasked with securing properties ahead of and during rally. Now, you can say, yes, maybe the cops did fail on their part as well, but it is still the task of Secret Service to make sure that the local police did their jobs as well. But that wasn't the end of the excuses. So now Secret Service, they're blaming the local people, but 130 yards is not a long distance. And then, this is from BizPac Review. Kim Cheatel, who is, again, the lead of the Secret Service, Kim Cheatel's latest bull-s excuse for security failures are met with rage. This is madness. They say U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatel's attempt to explain away the security failure that cleared the way for a would-be ender of Trump left even casual observers fuming. Ahead of a congressional briefing Tuesday and a hearing scheduled for the following week, the agency head responsible for the safety of the leader of the free world and numerous other high-ranking officials sat down for an interview with ABC News. She attempted to simultaneously shoulder responsibility while skirting accountability. Isn't it crazy that here we're always making fun of women for not taking accountability, and the exact words of this writer in regards to her interview is skirting accountability. What a shock. Cheatel offered a questionable explanation for why no one was posted on the roof that the would-be ender used to open fire on former President Trump and his supporters. She said that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point, and so there's a safety factor that would be considered there that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof, she explained Monday to ABC News correspondent Pierre Thomas. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from the inside. Now, let me show you the sloped roof, everybody. It is so steep and so sloped that 4 people are standing on it with no problems whatsoever. It is maybe a 5 or 8 degree slope. Probably not even that much. It's enough that water will run off in the rain. And so people pointed this out, rightly so, saying this is not that steep a slope. You can see people are easily on top of it. And that was her excuse for not putting counter snipers on this roof. Okay, but what about this roof where there were local police officers that were counter snipers? This roof is even steeper than this roof where you didn't put anybody. Isn't that crazy? It's almost like she's giving, what's the word I'm looking for, an excuse. See, when you hire people and you say, well, everybody can do the same job and everybody's just as good as everybody else, that's a lie. And when you put people in positions because you want to fill certain roles with women or certain roles with other shades of skin or LGHD affinities or whatever, you're saying both of these Jeeps are equal at the same jobs. Because they all have wheels and they're all trying very hard to climb those rocks. And they both have suspension and they're but this one's pretty blue. So actually it's better than this other one. That is what they sound like. And it's one thing when we sit here and complain and say, that it's not fair that certain guys can't get jobs right now or they're not being hired or whatever. It's another thing when you're saying you can't do the same jobs. If it's sitting in front of a desk with air conditioning, yes, maybe you can. But there's going to, even that, if you put somebody in front of a desk that loves editing videos and you put somebody there that hates it, one person's going to get to do it to the minimum level, and the other person that really enjoys it's going to try to do a very good job. The quality will be different. Even though both people may have the same capacity, maybe even the same skill, maybe the same belief system, whatever you want. One actually cares about their job. One enjoys it. One is passionate about it. You listen to these two gentlemen talking about it. It's obvious they're knowledgeable, but they're also passionate about it. You listen to Dan, he's upset because he says, this isn't the same group of guys I worked with. This isn't the same people. Something terribly has gone terribly, terribly wrong. They continue on, ripping into the explanation. The Federalist CEO and co-founder Shawn Davis contended on X, the director of the U.S. Secret Service deliberately allowed former and future president of the U.S. to be almost ended in the face because she didn't want Secret Service agent to be on a roof with a minimal slope. Likewise, former USSS agent Dan Bongino, and that's who we just heard from a moment ago, he said, who'd been leading the call for Cheatel's resignation since this happened, he said, more BS than block the line of sight. In other words, put up a clear glass sheet or a bulletproof glass sheet or something or other. And that's more quotes from him, but I already played the video. This from Colin Rugg, Just in, USSS director Kim Cheatel says they weren't on the roof where Thomas Crooks was because it was sloped and unsafe. And then he shows the same picture/video of the local PD on top of a pitch that was even stronger. So already we're starting with the excuses and the no accountability. And then when pressed on it, this is from just 5 hours ago, disgraced Secret Service Chief Kim Cheatel announces she will not resign in jaw-dropping interview. Now, this is from MSN.com. This isn't some right-wing, hardcore, Trump magazine. This is from MSN, a very decidedly left-leaning journal. They say at a time when our agency is in disgrace after the very nearly successful attempt on Trump, Secret Service Director Kim Cheatel is apparently shameless. In an interview with ABC News Broadcast Monday that can only be described as jaw-dropping, the veteran Secret Service agent and former head of global security for PepsiCo made clear two things that most Americans should find disconcerting. The first is that she apparently had no problem with the fact that a suspicious individual had been spotted on a roof just outside the Trump rally in Butler County, PA, roughly half an hour before the event. Yet the individual was not located until after things went down. And second, she has no plans to resign her position. In a government where accountability mattered, the first statement would be inconceivable. The head of an agency charged with security for presidents and presidential candidates would be outraged at the news that a potential person that could end them had been spotted in exactly the kind of spot a person like that would choose and had been photographed, but had not been found nearly succeeding in his mission. And in a world where accountability mattered, the second statement would be moot. Cheatel would have been gone by now. In the interview with Pierre Thomas, ABC's chief justice correspondent, Cheatel was big enough to acknowledge the horrific events of Saturday that left one man ended and two critically injured. But he said that was unacceptable. Yet she's brazen enough to defend her agency's performance. According to WPXI in Pittsburgh, an 8-member team of emergency service snipers and spotters from neighboring Beaver County, Pennsylvania, was assigned to the rally. One of its members actually photographed the suspicious man on the roof near the rally, though the report did not specify which roof, and called in the sighting. The photo was taken at 5:45, according to WPXI, which reported sources had confirmed the man was now the guy that was ended, Thomas Crooks, though it was not clear that he had his long-range hole puncher with him at the time. According to a timeline published by CNN, Trump took the stage at 6:05, and the lead started flying at 6:11, almost half an hour after the initial reports. So 26 minutes elapsed between when a suspicious individual was spotted and when that individual tried to end a once and perhaps future president. And what does that say to the director of the agency charged with protecting Trump and protecting Jill Biden and protecting Joe Biden and protecting other high members of our government? Her excuse was, I don't have all the details yet, but it was a very short period of time. Seeing that person out, finding them, identifying them, and eventually neutralizing them took place in a very short period of time, and it makes it difficult. And remember, I'm reading this article. These are not my statements in there. This is the writer's. He says, of course it's difficult. No adults expect the Secret Service to be superheroes, but the thing is the Secret Service, including Kimberly Cheatel, get paid to do things like monitor political rallies, identify suspicious individuals, and stop them before they end somebody. That means assessing where these things are likely to happen and how they arise, say like high points on roofs. In this case, according to WPXI, local law enforcement had spotted the individual, even taking a picture of him in the process. The fact that the roof would have a line of sight to the stage had been left unguarded have had many finding the individual a lot more difficult. Somewhere in her dissembling heart, Cheatel has to know that. The woman spent 27 years with the Secret Service before leaving the agency for a new title and probably much bigger money with PepsiCo, where she served from 2019 to 2022. She was the head of security, I believe, over there. She sounded like she knew what she was talking about when she told Thomas that Saturday's attempt was obviously a situation that, as a Secret Service agent, no one ever wants to occur. But yet, here it did. And from another article from MSN, she plans to stay on as the calls grow for her resignation. So more and more calls for her are to step down, and she's refusing. GOP Representative Tim Burchett, he's my guy here in Tennessee. I liked him. He is a good old boy. You know, a man is good with touching dirt and a man of the Lord when the worst curse word he will use is dadgummit. That is strong language for Tim, and I really like him. He is just salt of the earth guy. He blames DEI, Secret Service, for Trump's problems, for the event. He blamed diversity, equity, and inclusion on the head of the Secret Service. Burchett, along with other Republicans, has slammed the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatel for the reaction. He said she's a DEI appointee and suggested she was unfit for the job. And now, since that event happened, last night at the RNC, where Trump is, you notice there's no women security around him. Because the women that were around him, some of their heads came up to his mid-chest. You can't block. What are you going to do, hold your hands up like this in front of the president's face? You can't block him. So last night, Donald Trump, I think, is 250 pounds, and he's 6'2", 6'3", 6'1". He's a big guy. What did you see around him last night at the RNC? Let me mute that here. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You see 12 dudes that are 6 foot tall and like focused. They're looking around. They're assessing everything. They stop down here and watch as he moves up the stairs. You can see a couple guys down here still surveying the crowd. The guys walking up, one's looking up ahead. Like, these guys are on their game. Granted, it's the same Kim Cheatel. It's the same director, but boy, did the women that were surrounding him on the stage, boy, did that change. And here's the last thing I'll say on this. Microsoft laid off a DEI team. Its lead wrote an internal email blasting how DEI is no longer business critical. I told you guys that DEI and all this crap was going to lead to problems. It's not profitable for companies. But in several cases now, it's turning out it's dangerous. And so what are companies doing? They're getting rid of it. They're realizing we need to judge people based on their abilities and their skill set and what they can and can't do. And there are differences. And no matter how much you try to say one Jeep is like another Jeep, or one man and one woman are exactly the same, but then you look at the physical tests and all the different things and you say, well, if they're the same, why don't you have the same requirements? Well, because they're different. Well, then different people can do different things. And things like this is dangerous. And that's where we are. So hopefully, because of these events, with the economy getting rough, with money being harder to get because of the interest rates going up, with people actually being close to being hurt, with concerns popping up, maybe this is the end of the DEI BS. Maybe people are realizing when things are really good, it's fine to be silly. But when things start getting bad and the crap hits the fan, maybe it's time not to be silly anymore. Maybe you need to hire the best of the best, put the right people in for the positions, and let's face it, for most of these positions, that's men. If we're going to be honest about it, it is. Guys, if you like my work, please join me on betterbachelor.locals.com. I got a great group of people over there, huge community. You guys can support my work now that YouTube hates me. Officially hates me. Also, if you're on YouTube still, jump over to my new news channel, Odd Man Out News. I do news stories over there, and I like it. It's fun. It's a lot easier to find news stories I want to talk about than it is finding about men's issues, because let's face it, we got bigger problems than just the men's stuff. So it's actually becoming harder and harder to find interesting topics. So if you still like my content and you like me as a content creator, go check out my news channel. Links are down below, and I will see you in the next one.